So I'm going to show you what to do after you've blown the yolk out of your eggs. And this is how to take the wax off your egg. If you don't want to use the traditional candle method, which is fine if you're just doing one or two, but if you're doing a whole lot of eggs and you want to use the oven, you can do that too. So first I'm going to show you this, here's the pegboard. You might remember it from when we were blowing the yolk out. So it's just a regular piece of MDF, and it has nails in a grid pattern. Now I've put this piece of tin foil on here. What that does is it just helps to keep the board clean, so it'll catch whatever yolk comes out, and if any wax drips down, it'll be caught by that. So I've arranged the eggs on the board, and some of these eggs are eggs that still had the wax on them when I blew the yolk out, and the other eggs here are the ones that I used when I was showing you to blow out the yolk. So they have just the wax that I added when blowing out the yolk to protect the shell. So I've preheated the oven to 200 degrees, and I'm now going to put the tray into the oven. This is I moved the rack to the middle, and they're going to sit in there now for a couple of minutes. So I'm just checking in on the eggs, and you can hear some of them are actually, they've got a little bit of yolk coming out of the bottom of them, and that's because I didn't let them dry long enough before sticking them in the oven. It's not too big a deal, but if you let them dry for a couple of days even, just to make sure that all the yolk is out of them. And you know to take them out when they start glossing over. I want to show you an egg that I think is ready to go. So in the back there's a green egg with pink on it, and you can see that it's kind of glossy. So I'm going to take it out right now. I'm just lifting it off with a paper towel, and I'm going to wipe it. So I was right, that egg was ready to go. I took most of the wax off. There's still just a little tiny bit on the bottom, so I'm going to stick it back in the oven just for a minute, and I'm going to watch it. And if you're worried about the oven getting too hot like I was, you can just open up the door and leave the door open for a little bit. There are a couple of pros and cons to taking the wax off your eggs this way. The pro obviously is if you're doing a lot of eggs. I'm taking one out, showing you how quickly you can wipe it off. If you're doing a lot of eggs, you can do them all at once. It saves you a lot of time. See, that basically took all the wax off that egg. So that's one pro. And also the other advantage is you're not going to get those, sometimes when you take the wax off with the candle, you get burn marks and carbon left behind. And that generally doesn't happen when you take the wax off in the oven. The drawbacks would be if there's yolk inside the egg still. Well, first of all, you have to blow the yolk out, but if there's any left over, it could explode, so it can crack if the oven's too hot, so you really have to pay attention and watch. But that's really pretty much the only drawback that I can think of. Okay, so there you go. We've got a dozen nice, blown out, and de-waxed eggs. So the last thing you're going to want to do with your eggs is after, definitely give them a little bit of time to dry out, and then you can see here, this is a pretty good example, you can see the hole. You'll want to just put a little bit of wax, using your Pysanka, the same thing you used to apply wax onto the egg originally. You'll want to just put a little bit of wax on that hole. That helps seal it off in case there is any yolk left over inside. That eventually could stink a little bit. I mean, you don't have to do it, but it's a nice little way of finishing off the egg, and then if you want, you can varnish your eggs.